Mm-hmm,
And then just cross stream to two different platforms.
right.
So.
How are you?
Mm.
And then.
Oh, okay.
And now
Yeah, why are you tired?
the program,
No, it's not that.
I mean, this is so. Make decisions.
Be great, right now. Are we, do you want me to put the slides up on this computer or do you?
yeah, I'm gonna give them to you via Zoom right now. I mean, in the Zoom chat, I'm gonna give you the link right now. Sent it to you.
Oh, yeah. So you know what, I mean, she's just doing that. Nah, she was driving.
I kind of think that there's nothing else that you need from this computer, right? Oh, you need access to that slide.
Nah, nine. Yeah, yeah. You know, it's cute, like. Oh,
Okay, so try now.
I feel like the ability, everyone's up and get before something.
Okay.
And it's the same old, hey, let's.
Yeah, and I'm gonna give you, that's why I said I'm gonna make a co-host. You got freedom spelled.
But only, but.
Your name, your username, you have freedom. I'm gonna rename you. You have free bomb. Free bomb.
This should be the.
The Ubuntu account, well, it's getting there, it's free bomb, I gotta change that. Ubuntu free bomb.
And by everyone with the overwhelming support, everybody. If you're like one of these people, I know, I'm like, okay, you got it out.
All right, Avery, are you almost set?
Oh,
If not, that's okay. I'm just checking in.
yeah, I just forgot to plug that. This is fine.
It's fine. I'm gonna, yeah, I'm gonna stop the share.
Okay.
Over and start the share.
Okay.
Great. Oh. Going here.
We in a new space, y'all.
Oh, sorry.
Let's see.
Okay, there we go.
Yeah.
I can't see. Okay. Pretty bad. We didn't. I don't know. Happy to see you. Doing things. Since one of my total.
I'm doing good. We'll give you that. Trying to be perfect.
Each two shakes, y'all, but you better than this. Oh. Is there any chance Somebody might be able to pull that screen down just a tad, so I can see the bottom of the Zoom. Oh, so it's just being silly.
I think it might just be because I'm.
Alright, no, that's okay. Alright, I'll figure it out.
Resource, or resource. Resource system. Just like. I think this is like, for example, it's like. So. That's why. I was. Such. Well, that's. Yeah, no. That's what I was trying to remember. I think you're about to meet. If we knew you were doing that, I was very. So, honestly. It's been a while here. 2026 is a while here.
Okay. Are you cool on sound, AB? Typical conservations and then I'm like. And I have a application on you say. What about that plan right there?
Yeah.
On the wheel.
Oh, yeah.
This one right here.
We have a plan.
This one's on wheels, that one. Yeah. She rolls in.
You have water?
I was cracking up. First because it's a conversation that was had about so doing that and about. Yeah, definitely, yeah.
That's right.
Use a vector try.
Give that.
Yeah. It's like an excellent student with all these. The summer's better because I have.
Yeah, I was gonna ask.
Yeah, I really.
So I waited like the conference. You said, I figured them out like one week.
Next week, inshallah. and biking down the shore. It's like some of the, there's a route you can get from, like I know, to Jersey Shore. And if I put that out, I'm never driving again, it's like to the beach, I'm good.
It's a long bike ride. Well, I guess like, I think it's like west side of Jersey.
It's gonna be zero into the city, so you'll survive.
Just like to get. Yeah, we can say the way though. Yeah.
Like, what is it? Like, no, driving up to the beach, you're gonna hard to drive you home.
It's doable, but it's.
He always, yeah, he always took me to Ace Three. So we have a lot of them to do and stuff, like, so he's like, you know, if you want to relive some of those and I'm driving you home, stop playing. No, I actually fly, right?
Yeah, I don't know, but I feel like I'm kind of like,
Yeah.
so like, I'm just like,
I think they used to be with the first one.
I don't know, I was in your writing, though, I don't know, because you're not on the, I don't know, usually. Sides, I don't know, it's good as well, so it's not, but. Some water, you know, kids things, I don't know, maybe money. I don't know, it's, I think it's supposed to be, it's. So I went to the studio, and I was cracking up and some shit up, like it was housing, it was Palestine, it was, you know, all the links. You read all, I was like cracking up. Yeah, and then afterwards, we wound up by chance, we close something, I was placing some stuff. But
Did you get the?
everybody. I don't have, well, you know, because I'm like
Yeah.
leaving, I'm really conscious about this.
Not wait,
material,
yeah.
You know, so because I was gonna get it out and I had to remind myself of that. This was, and literally spending the last year just like a crazy. So, yeah, everything was just so. Oh, where did it come? We're not allowed to say. Well, we didn't think about, I just quickly. And shout.
I think the other part of the job, like savvy, bringing to that's not there to day in. Some of those young people who came up to the same time, when you kids, they have been protesting weapons. I'm sure it's.
Was that
No, it's a coalition of students requested in college.
Okay.
Different colleges.
Uh-huh.
Around the city.
Yeah.
They've been for 31 years. Every Tuesday they go there. That's very good. They're super conservative.
And so they.
That week was June Tuesday. I got it.
Uh-huh.
Like,
That's why we got that infused in.
I got you.
Yeah.
So it's like, I just love anytime I go in students at these startups.
Cause that was so nice in the morning with all the music, cool language.
Yeah.
See, that's not success, that's great, but you know. They wanna, yeah.
Yes. Freedom on 1, 2, 3.
It's like most chill call to action.
We're in a new space, I'm getting accustomed to being design. All right, welcome y'all. Good afternoon, peace, everybody. My name is Austin. For those who don't know, I'll be walking us through the program today. I'm not trying to do my like quiet storm voice, but I think it's not on purpose. We're gonna get started in a second. Indigo is gonna come up and start us off with some libations. But today, this month's principle, July, is our resource ecosystem nurtures life, and we're gonna be talking about 250 plus years of abolition. With some great performances and a word by Yane. So I'll pass it over to Indigo. Hey, y'all.
Hello.
Feeling.
Yeah, it's hot, it's very hot. So I now have the honor of pouring out libations. In this ceremony, I'm going to be repeating the Yoruba word Ashe, meaning power, command, or divine authority. It represents the power to make things happen, to produce change, and in Yoruba traditional and syncretic practice faiths, it is sometimes used as a prayer or incantation to affirm and invoke the power of the divine, as we will today. Often summarized as "so be it" or "it is so," I invite you each to use any words you feel appropriate for you to invite spirit into this space, whether it's Ashe, Amen, Amin, Salom, Salam, Om, Takbir, anything, a whole. So pouring libations is a act of pouring out liquid as an offering to a deity, a spirit, an ancestor, or in memory of the dead. Most times water is used in libation ceremonies, however, some libations are done with wine, grain alcohol, milk, oil, or honey. In many African cultures and Afro-diaspora traditions, the ritual of pouring out libations is essential to ceremony and tradition. Libations is giving honor, reverence, and respect and recognition to our ancestors whose shoulders we stand on and our elders whose shadows we walk in. Libations are an ancient invitation to the ancestors, spirits, and deities and divinities to join us here in a moment of gratitude and to grace us with their presence as we honor them. Our ancestors tell us that those who lack knowledge for the past are like a tree without roots. So we raise this cup to creation and in any and all forms to show our reverence for sacredness and for life. Let us say Ashe. We pour libations to honor the past so that we may learn from them. We use water because water has no enemy. We use water to freshen the road our ancestors traveled for us to be here today. We use water as a symbol of our continuity of life to purify and nourish our souls. Let us say Ashe.
Ashe.
We pour libations to Mother Earth, the land that we fight for, the mother of all humanity. Let us say Ashe. We pour libations to our languages and our tongues, who carry the names and stories of our past. Let us say Ashe.
Ashe.
We pour libations to our homelands, that we may return to nourish them and tend to the roots of our foremothers. Let us say Ashe. We pour libations to the remembrance of our ancestors, those who have been uprooted from their homes and homelands, those who have suffered enslavement, those who have survived genocide, those who have labored and sacrificed for our very existence here today. Let us say Ashe. We pour libations to our martyrs who fought and resisted enslavement, genocide, oppression, and persecution, colonization, imperialism, ecocide, racial capitalism, and cis-heteropatriarchy. Let us say Ashe. We pour libations to our elders, whose wisdom and grace we seek in all our endeavors. Let us say Ashe. We pour libations to our chosen family, whom we are blessed to have in our lives. Let us say Ashe. We pour libations to those yet unborn, our future creators, fighters, and lovers that will continue the struggle to be free, proud, and cultivated people. Those who will not let our legacy and our efforts towards love die. Let us say Ashe. And now let us call the names of those our ancestors, both personal and chosen, who have paved the path before us. Harriet Tubman. Ashe. Ashe. Ashe.
Nanny of the Maroons.
Ashe. Ashe. Ayeli Zako.
Chucky Africa.
Ashe. Ashe. Kingdom.
Maroon.
Ashe.
Marsha P. Johnson.
Ashe.
Sylvia Rivera.
Ashe.
Ashe. Ashe. Johnny Baker.
Ashe. Ashe.
Ashe. Mutulu Shakur.
Ashe.
Imam Jamil Alameen.
Ashe. Ashe.
Delbert Africa. John Africa.
Ashe. And to our ancestors whose names we do not know, and whose stories we continue to fight for, and whose stories we will never forget. Ashe, Ashe, Ashe.
Ashe.
Now I'm gonna invite Yanea to welcome us and to give us a little bit of grounding.
Hey. Y'all remember we use the mic so that the people on Zoom, the world can hear us. It's weird to be using the mic when we like so close to incident, but we have a reason for it and it's not performative. It's inclusion, it's about inclusion. Can we move to the next slide? Are you into of course, we have our 12 principles. One principle is assigned to each month. And this month, the principle is our resource ecosystem embodies life. All exchanges honor the cycle of reciprocity. Does anybody else feel like reading?
Our resource ecosystem embodies life. All exchanges honor the cycle of reciprocity. We measure prosperity by the thriving of people and the planet. Through collaboration with nature, we receive resources and engage them with wisdom, perpetuating abundance for all beings. Let's talk about it.
Let's talk about it. So, does anybody have any thoughts speak about this principle? Is anything that like speaks to you, jumps out to you? Or your experiences as it relates to this principle and what is connecting to?
Just gonna share what like initially comes to my mind and last week I got finished helping to like facilitate it like a mini summer camp for educators in the city called Green City Teachers, and I was giving a workshop on soil building. And it became, because it was like a small group, so like it easily became like existential conversation, the burden conversation. Like we started talking about the difference between like topsoil and compost, and then like somehow we started talking about altar building, and I was like, let's reel it back. But one of the participants of the workshop, like her thing is beekeeping, and she beekeeps with other fellow beekeepers, and like everybody has their own style of beekeeping, and her fellow, like her neighbor, keeps buying these like fumigation items offline that like it's like vague what the substance is, but basically it's like you smoke it to calm the bees down so you're able to get the honey out the bee houses. But like it's like some like there are different items for doing this, just like any other tool, right? There's a lot of variation, but The teacher who was in the class was talking about, how she's trying to find natural materials to use in place of buying these fumigation products. And we started talking about how she's an invader basically to the bees. Like even though the honeybees themselves like are invasive species, like she is invading their home to come get a resource from them. And she was like, the bees don't need me. Like I'm coming and I'm taking from them. The least I can do is make sure that I'm not poisoning them. And like we started to have a conversation about how, yeah, technically, I guess the bees don't need us. They can build their own house, they can find their own food. But it is very true that we as humans living things have an impact here. Like we don't exist neutrally. So the least that we can do is make sure that our impact is not only not harmful, but also potentially beneficial. So like planting a lot of natives that they like, a lot of providing them with food, water, shelter, anything like that would make their existence way more abundant so that they can focus on food production, which would make the honey so abundant that we can both share. And it is reciprocal in that way. And so we were like, yes, we were talking about that and how like it doesn't need to be like, oh, humans are bad for like doing animal agriculture, but it's like how can, and instead of it being a dominating dynamic, how can it be reciprocal? How can it be holistic? And how can we like help perpetuate that abundant future for all of us collectively?
Thank you, appreciate that. So we got warmed up now. Anybody else got some thoughts to share? Yeah, y'all know I always have thoughts, so, no pressure, there's openness and welcomeness.
I have like two things actually. So my first thing is just thinking about, so yesterday I was part of the many folks that I'm sure are also in this room that were doing actions to push back against the nonsense of celebrating 250 years of oppression. So I was specifically working with folks that were doing work with like M4PL, and like the core of the call is like land back and reparations and not another 250. Like recognizing, I think one of the pieces that stuck with me the most was there were folks from the Indian Collective that came, and they were the first folks that spoke during a rally that we ended up doing at City Hall. And it just made sense to me, right? Like it's a 250th anniversary of like celebrating an independence to take over land that is not that did not belong to them white folks. And so having the people that actually do like have ownership of this land, that have stewardship over this land, be the first people to mark the next 250 years of like what we are actually trying to create, right? Like what we should be doing when it comes to creating land back and reparations. What does that mean to actually steward land rather than invading it? What does it mean to do reparative work for folks who have been harmed in the creation of an empire like this? And I feel like it just put me in a mindset of like, okay, so for every day for the next 250 years, what work do we need to do to like work that back? And recognizing like that kind of restorative work. And then the other thing that came to mind is that I've been on an anime kick lately. And I picked back up Dr. Stone. And if you are unfamiliar with the series, it is essentially modern times. I think it started in probably like 2023, something like that. And when it started, essentially the whole world gets petrified. Like out of nowhere, there's just this big green beam, and then everybody turns to rock. And then thousands of years pass. I think they said it's like 3,400 years. And then all of a sudden, someone wakes up. And it's this ridiculous high schooler who just happens to be like ridiculously smart and really into science. And he's just like, I can rebuild the stone world. And the first thing that he does is create a revitalization serum so that way he can help unlock like his friends and his comrades and like figure out like, well, how are we gonna get the world back? Because everybody's turned to stone. I just so happened to be like downstream from some like bat guano that had the nitric acid that was gonna set me free. But like, how do we set everybody else free? And then it becomes like the whole show is about how are they going to set folks free? And then there's immediately like a power struggle about like, how are we going to create a new future that is like away from the one that we just inhabited? Like, because you unlock just a few people because you think that they're going to be the ones to help you, but those folks are like, no, I don't want to recreate this world. We don't need to unlock everybody. Look at what we did when we had this world. But in doing so, they're doing the same kind of reactive harm. And so it's such a powerful series because like really and truly, like there are things about the power of science, but like for them, the power of science is being able to like collect knowledge and to share resources. And in doing so, being able to really like lean on each other's strengths and wills and power to create that kind of collective liberation for like excellence that allows everybody to eat. Like they're able to like travel all over the world, and the first thing that they do when they're setting off to a new destination is like, what was the soul food of this world? Like of this like country, of this place, of this space. What dish was it that like made it what it is? Where was its heart? Where was its soul? And so like it's been very, I think it's very relevant to this conversation. I've been thinking about Dr. Stone a lot. Highly recommend.
I'm gonna scoot up so that I don't have to stretch the cord. I really appreciate you bringing like imagination, and storytelling into this conversation, because I've been thinking a lot recently about myth making and the role it plays in justifying the destructive hegemony that we've been seeing for over 250 years, right?
Yes.
And it's so often like a precursor to genocides we see as a mythology about relationship to a land, like the Western colonial settler myth about like conquering the land, and the Zionist myth, where a bunch of European colonizers have convinced themselves they're indigenous to Palestine. Or like the myth of like the Hermetic hypothesis that Tutsis came from Ethiopia, and Belgian colonizers used that to like enforce their superiority in a racialized system of indirect rule. But then that was turned on its head for the genocide against the Tutsi, and a lot of people were like, we have to kill them and send them back to Ethiopia. But what this makes me think about is the fact that there are so many mythologies from indigenous traditions about a harmonious relationship with the land and with nature. And part of our revolution has to be like using these myths and countering the myth making of colonial projects and Western racialized capitalism by renewing and like reviving the myths that we have often seen lost or silenced or erased as part of genocidal projects. So like, this is making me want to revisit. Years ago, I read the story of how this land became known to be Turtle Island and like grew off of mud on a turtle's back, but I want to like go and reread that and seek out other myths that we can tell over the mythology that has been being used to justify an extractive, destructive, and genocidal relationship with land and peoples.
Thank you. I know this one is you.
Yeah, this just made me thinking about uplifting, like, at least I'm involved with. I've been going to specifically the West Peace Park for volunteer hours. And I know there's multiple places in the city right now with like their own like community gardens. Obviously, I try to be, mindful of politics, but I think like acquiring the skill to like learn how to plant. I was there this one time, this little girl, she knew so much about the development in plants, vegetables, and I was learning so much. I was learning so much about like the change of colors. Like I didn't even know certain vegetables with plants what attached to them. I have to say, I think I just wanted to uplift at least the Peace Parks. They every Sunday, 11 to 2, West Philly, there's a West Philly location, I think 2116 West Girard, North Philly. I can get you that address. But yeah, I also know you are also a part of gardening. A lot of gardening. But yeah, I just wanted to uplift like something that's basically happening right now because they do need support and they are trying to get like more Black community members to come and like get their own plant bed. Yeah, and yeah, just kind of commit to growing like, and just kind of embracing that motion. So yeah.
So yesterday on July 4th, me, Rachel, and a contingent of people from Poor People's Army went to Delaney Hall to support protesters. Delaney Hall, for those who don't know, that is the concentration camp where they detain immigrants in Newark, New Jersey. There has been a hunger strike there and also protests on the outside for the last month and a half. due to the inhumane conditions in there, and, it was, I think, just like a very collaborative atmosphere of, this has been sustained for a month and a half, so people there are fighting to keep each other alive. They're not just there for spectacle. They're very, they're communicating with the people on the inside because certain actions risk and have at points led to retaliation to the people detained inside. And there's that, there was, obviously it was extremely hot yesterday, there's, a medic tent set up, there are just like, everyone's just kind of looking out for each other's needs, and I think like, it was refreshing because like so many, we've all probably been to so many actions where it's just like, the speakers are just kind of looking to be seen, and then you all go home, and then it's like, okay, great, then what? And then, on the other side of it too, like from the organizer end, like sometimes you can be like so competent in organizing spaces that you become the person, look to like make things happen, and people aren't necessarily like asking how you're doing or looking toward like your needs, and sometimes it can be easy. It's so easy just like forget you have needs until it's too late. But it's just refreshing to see that such an important place of protest right now has that reciprocity in mind, because Delaney Hall is an experiment to see how far our government and the private corporations they're working together with can go, because Delaney Hall is privately owned. And it's vital, it's an experiment on us to see what we the people are going to do about it, and so it's awful what is happening in there and still happening in there. But it's good to know that there are people working together, and not just doing it for themselves or having themselves in mind.
Really quickly, I just wanted to let the people that just came in know, you may or may not be able to see it well, but on the screen, it's talking about our July principle. We have 12 principles of freedom. So we focus on one principle each month, and this month, July's principle is our resource ecosystem embodies life. All exchanges honor the cycle of reciprocity. We measure prosperity by the thriving of people and planet through collaboration with nature. We receive resources and engage them with wisdom, perpetuating abundance for all beings. And we're just talking about how we relate to that principle.
This is a totally different sort of angle, but it's the first thing I thought of when we first read that. I have been on a journey related to clothing lately. Just always been broke, and so always felt comfortable, even as a kid. We just went to thrift stores. That's how we shop. And then as I got older, like I wanted to be, I wanted to fit in and be trendy, and so I would get the stuff at Walmart or Target that was imitations of the whatever. Anyway, as now in my 50s, I'm like, I just want to be comfortable. And I realized that what the clothes are made of contributes to how comfortable I feel. So in this journey of learning about what clothes are made of and what is comfortable and where things come from, it was a deep dive into that horrible, disgusting industry of who is really making the clothes and what they're being made out of, and what that does to the land and the people. And so then I was like, okay, that's it, only thrifting from now on. And then thinking about clothes that get donated but don't get thrifted led me to discover, maybe everybody's always known about this and I just had my head in a hole, but like these two mountain-sized burning dumps of clothes, one in South America and one in Africa. And the communities that live around them and what these like synthetic fibers burning is putting into the air and how it, and now I just can't, I can't not think about that. And that so much, the relationship between this totally seemingly unconnected thing about where this, you know, white lady in her 50s gets her clothes and how it relates to children, not just children, all kinds of people living in places and doing things that they have no choice about that is destroying their lives. And that connection is strong. It's not my fault, you know, that these places exist. But if we don't know those connections and that relationship between our lives and other lives and the land, you know, it's easy to just justify it or act like it doesn't exist. Like then once you know, you're willfully contributing if you're still participating in it. And I'm not saying that to guilt anybody else, because it took me this long to get there myself, even knowing about sweatshops and all that. It took me this long learning about these two mountains to actually decide to change my behavior. That's all.
Thanks y'all for a great conversation. Again, this, y'all know about the principles, so this is the principle we're talking about. We have 12 principles in the Ubuntu Freedom. So we focus on one principle each month, and for the month of July, this is our principle, our resource ecosystem embodies life. We're gonna bring it back up again a little bit later, but I'm gonna turn back over to our MC Austin.
All right, and it's time for everybody to get active, so stand up, put the feet, and we're gonna go around and greet our neighbors, introduce yourself to someone you know, catch up with someone you do, for 5-10 minutes, and then we'll get right back into it. Oh, yeah, if you haven't, you can sign it right here with QR code. So maybe on your way to talking to people, do that as well. I was gonna say, it's good for the students.
I'm Hannah.
Where you still have the allergy down.
Can you also tell me about the dump? Have like a special spray button? Okay, got you. Nice, nice. My grandfather is like dominant. But it's like, no, right? Don't make Oh, okay. Yeah. I mean, that's what it's about, right? Like, I figure out all the.
I know they've been treating it like going.
You're
All right, we're gonna make our way back to our seats. You people, we're gonna make our way back to our seats so you can enjoy our artist presentation. We'll have time for folks, afterwards as well, to pick the conversations back up. But I'm glad people are having such great conversation.
At the piece staple.
All right, now we are gonna hear from our creative ministry and the stylings of Alea Johnson.
Can we make sure the sound is up on the computer? I don't know if it's actually playing.
Let me do a test play.
It's these. We're gonna find out. And also the words are up there, so that means people sing along. Please know, always, always, anytime I'm in front of people, it is never a spectator type of genre, all right? I love when folks are singing along, clapping along, doing what they can. I think one of the beautiful things about creativity is that it's such an innately human thing, all right? Not everybody comes from a biblical context, but you know, the Bible says be fruitful and multiply, and I think a lot of people use that to like push from babyliss to nonsense and say we should have a whole bunch of babies. But there are so many ways that we can create. All right, we create sound, we create stories, we create life, we create connections. Okay, so being able to create music, especially with other people, is a very powerful and very deeply human thing. So if you're trying to find a way to tap into your humanity, try creating something, color something. I don't know, but right now we're gonna figure out how we sing. I don't know what happened to the sound of this computer. So we're gonna. Yeah. I'm gonna try them just a little bit more while the crew's getting it worked out. It's so great to be here with folks. And it's also so wonderful to be in this space. This is a brand new space. The first time that we're here, we're typically over in Germantown, as you guys know. But it's nice to be in a new space, I think it changes the energy a little bit, you know? All right. And we are good to go. I love this song, and I think especially considering some of the things that we've been thinking about imagining and storytelling, I think it's really fitting. I wish I knew how it can feel to be free. I wish I could break all the chains holding me. I wish I could say all the things that I should say. Say them loud and say them clear for the whole world to hear. I wish I could share all the love that's in my heart. Remove all the bars that keep us apart. I wish you should know what it means to be me. Then you see I agree that every man should be free. I wish I could give all the longing to give. I wish I could live like I'm not used to live. I wish I could do all the things that I can do. Oh, I'm way overdue.
I feel so new. But I wish I could be like a bird in the sky. How sweet it would be if I could find all I told to the song. And I'm doing to see, and I'm singing, cause I know, and I'm singing, cause I know, yes, I'm singing, because I know how it feels to be free. Oh, how it feels, how it feels. Can we get one more round of applause for yourself? I heard you want to go along. Thank you. I'm gonna pass it back to our MC, I believe. Thank you.
Thank you, Alea. So as we said before, our theme today, today's July 5th. Yesterday was my friend's birthday. Nothing else really to celebrate about yesterday going on. So yeah, exactly. My friend, actually, my other friend had a baby yesterday as well. So they took it for that. Actually. But today we're celebrating 250 plus years of abolition. So we already talked about our principle for the month of July, and we're gonna go into a little bit more depth. So I'm gonna invite Yane back up to talk to us and lead us through activity as well.
Thanks, and thanks again, Alea, always bringing that beautiful, powerful voice into the stage. Good to see you. I was concerned because I was like, I don't know, we have your email, and then we go into a new location. It was like, you were on my mind in particular, so I'm happy to see you here. So yeah, so we had the principle that we were talking about, our resource ecosystem nurtures life. And one of the things, can we put it back up on there? I wanted to give y'all a little information about like this process. So the way the principles were developed in the first place, there was a couple dozen of us organizers who met very regularly, like to different degrees. Not all of us met 2 to 3 times a week, but multiple of us met 2 to 3 times a week for about a little over a year, working on and refining our principles. Ant was amongst them who worked on them. And, you know, and others, you know, Susan actually got, some of y'all know Susan Alava. She laid the foundation for this actual principle. And when we first, so, you know, we wrote them and we edited them. And when we first wrote them, it was our economy embodies life. And I don't know if it was embodies life. I don't know what the whole thing was, but I know the keyword we were originally using was economy. And of course, like one of the things that was a part of our interest was not using language that reinforces what we're moving from, but really to do the work of standing in the place where we're aiming to be and describing what holds that world in place. That was our goal. So when we are free, what does it look like? And what are the principles that keep us grounded in that space of freedom? And then writing that out so that that can be a guide for where we're aiming to go. And so this is what we developed, our resource ecosystem. But just kind of like, even with the way that you kind of heard it, right? The way that y'all were talking about it, you are talking about the current economic process that we have, that we're subject to, that we're living in, and you know, and how it affects, and that is actually it's an extractive and killing system, and we need to build a system that does something different. One of the words that stood out to people, that stands out to me, is reciprocity. And when I think about reciprocity, one of the things that I had like begun to understand some time ago through thinking about the heart is that the way that we've been taught to think about reciprocity is transactional and unnatural. Reciprocity is how we operate as a whole body, not in the small individual kind of exchanges and interactions that we have. So like we look at the heart, it moves blood through the body, it sends it out through the vessel, it doesn't get it back through that same vessel, right? Isn't that right, Doc? It goes out, if it comes back in, if the blood that the pump, Doc, help me out.
Break it down, you got it.
The vessel that the heart pumped blood out to went and turned around and sent blood back. Would that work?
No.
That would
Need that oxygen. Need
that
that
would-
oxygen.
it doesn't work,
Yeah.
right? When we're thinking, we are a part of a flow system. And we're supposed to flow forward. And then we're also part of a spiritual system that we have to trust. And so when we flow forward with trust, right, the heart is not sitting here like, okay, now make sure you send it back, right? It's trusting, it's moving through the body and it's going to find its way back in through a different vessel. If we keep looking for that which we give to be the only thing we get from, or every time, we're going to be missing the flow, which is so much more abundant, right? And that is a part of what brings prosperity, right? And so the other thing that really that stands out here says through collaboration with nature, and this goes to what you were talking about earlier. Through collaboration with nature, we receive resources and engage them with wisdom. So the receive is really important. That was something that some of y'all know Felicia. Some of y'all know Felicia Tina. So Felicia is Yakima and of African descent and also is Yakima from the indigenous community in Washington. And you know, we've spent a good amount of time when they first came to Philly, just kind of like walking and like one person, like one family lives in this house. Like it's just not even fathomable. Like we just, you know, just confronting some different ways of thinking. And one of the things that, because I was having a lot of trouble, and I still have trouble sometimes with like, just like the process of like consuming, even the way that we have to, right? You gotta eat, right? We gotta eat to survive. But then it's like, I'm taking life. And, you know, and one of the things that they told me is that that way that they in their community and culture were thinking of it as more as a reception, right? That you receive and that you honor that receiving. And that, you know, that really helped me to think about it also from the place of like, I'm gonna also be giving life. Like I'll be giving my life, right? And made me think about my own health and my effort to be healthy in a different way, because I want to be healthy food down the line, just like I want to receive healthy food. And so like if the earth is providing for us and we're not taking, that moves and operates differently, and we can honor what we're receiving differently. And that also is a way that we embody life and nurture life. And so the other thing that I wanted to bring to this piece around prosperity is what we think about when we think about what is enabling us to prosper, and how we connect with the rest of our community, and how this connects to the theme around 250 years of abolition. So we have been in this system that has prospered off of death, prospered off of murder. So-called prosper, because no one is prospering, right, in this environment. And everyone is either fighting for what they have, justifying what they have. Like there's no true prosperity in this environment, in this system. But there's this concept and this idea of what prosperity is. And it's really the concept of prosperity that I think connects to the idea of abolition, because this project is all about collective freedom. It's all about it acknowledges that people can have experiences that feel like freedom as individuals, but you are not actually having freedom. That none of us are free unless all of us are free is true, right? That's at the core of this project. And so when we're building this project up, we're building this project up to be a resource that helps us to begin to experience freedom through what we do collectively. And so and that's the only way that abolition has worked. It's been through collective work, through collective efforts to shift away, not only pushing down what was, but building what can be, building what is possible. That is where prosperity is. And so when you have a system of enslavement, which is what all aspects of the system is, right? Is whether you're in chattel enslavement, or you're in a prison and you're incarcerated through a prison, or you're working a job in order to be able to, get the money so that you can buy food or keep a house, keep a roof over your head and clothe your children. Those are all forms of enslavement that have various levels of discomfort associated with them. But when you're free, then you take, and we've talked about this collectively here before, but you take the gifts that you have and you share them to a purpose, right? And then the community you're a part of benefits and also benefits you. And that is the ecosystem, right? The ecosystem, the process of moving things through, that's the ecosystem that actually embodies life. It doesn't steal your joy. It doesn't steal your gifts, or it doesn't make you have to push them to the side. Like if you are really a dynamic singer, and that is the gift that you were given in order to be able to bless your community, you should not be, unless you just want to do it also, but you shouldn't be forced to be putting together spreadsheets and, and collecting data. It doesn't make sense, right? If you have like a beautiful relationship with plants, some people are like, oh, I got a black thumb, right? Everybody is not able to nurture plants. It's not everyone's gift. If you have a gift to nurture plants and help them to grow and share their beauty, their health, and their wisdom in our community, and you are, instead of that, being a lawyer, like maybe, you can buy plants, but that's not where your gift is, and that's not what you are made in order to share with your community. So my personal argument and my experience has suggested that our gifts are the things that guide us to know what our purpose is. And that we know that we're fulfilling our purpose because it impacts community in a positive way. And because the community naturally nurtures our ability to move in our gifts. And that is what the ecosystem is that embodies life. And when you are actually able to bring your gifts to the table and share your gifts and then fulfill your purpose and then be nurtured in your gifts and nurture your community in your gifts, you're part of a system that is embodying life. So I wanted to stop there, see if y'all have any thoughts as it relates to those concepts. And then I wanted to invite us to just like process and thinking. We've done it before. We've done worksheets where we write about what our gifts are and things, but we can't stop thinking about that. We can't stop. I personally don't think we should ever stop thinking about where our purpose really may lie, and to be able to examine where there's a gap between what we're doing and where our purpose may be, and be able to think about how we close that gap and how we close that gap in a way that's systemic so that others are also benefiting from our effort to close the gap and move ourselves further from enslavement and move ourselves closer to purpose, which is where freedom lies. So I'm wondering if y'all have any thoughts in relation to it.
Thank you. So what I was thinking of from your first, and I feel like your example of comparing the earth or our greater human system to our body was really beautiful, because what you're saying about the heart, like it has faith that it's gonna come back because there's red blood cells and water flowing every single inch, centimeter, whatever, all the way from the out back to the in. So what you're saying, that it really is a holistic system, there aren't any gaps in a natural system, like how we are naturally created, so we might have gaps within us. But when we act like there are gaps or divisions, that's when the harm happens, and we see that in our society, like where there's people who think that they're benefiting, they think they get the prosperity, but they're still being sickened by the harm that they're doing to the planet and everything that goes on it. That's what I was thinking. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Appreciate it.
Hi, everyone. I wanted to apologize for being late, but The reason I wanted to talk to you is because when I first came in the door, and I'm thinking about what they're just saying about reciprocity, we're beginning to learn something. When I first came in the door, the dog actually came to me. After 15,000 years, he knew to do that. Everybody that's human, after 15,000 years of history, because of battles, because of wars, laws, because of corporations literally built during this period, because of that mistake, or not doing it, or doing it. They learn to be a little bit withdrawn. But we're learning. We're learning to do pretty much like the animals do. We're learning to care for one another, give to one another, exchange with one another. There's an importance to living. There's an importance to watching for the ecosystem. There's an importance to ending climate change and controlling what we make and manufacture on this planet for not just one or two people or a group of people who get wealthy, but for us all to live. And it's even more important to learn that here, because when we go, and we're going to go, because we can't help it, when we go to the moon, when we go to Mars, and we go out there, in order to get out there, we're going to have to learn how to live here. And that's the most important.
Thank you. Thank you. Anybody else have any reflections on the principle, the conversation? Will you, say your name also?
Everybody should do that.
Hi, my name is Vivi. I just wanted to add on, to the sort of gift part that you were talking about. And I feel like the kind of world that we live in, the manufactured world that we live in, kind of separates us in a way where, we tend to think that we don't have a purpose, because of the kind of, access to technology, of like, I guess the term today of like rotting and kind of just not doing as much and just kind of staying in the same cycles of like, just nothingness. And that's what they want you to believe, that you're worth nothing and you're not really here for anything. And I feel like, I think it's important to take moments of even just being here right now and also just having those reminders, those moments of stillness that relocate you back to where you're supposed to be and closer to yourself. So I think moments like this make you realize that you do have a purpose and, yeah.
Thanks. Thank you. And I'm glad that we are creating an environment that feels comfortable and safe, so people can, share their thoughts, and when they're new, appreciate it. Yes.
Yeah, I guess to add on what was said about like finding our place and about relearning how to be an animal, because we are animals. And I feel like, what you were saying about like where we separate these things and we like, this is animal, this is human, this is house, this is dirt, and we frame all these things and we silo them and we've forgotten how these things are connected and how the systems are supposed to go. And I find, and we were like talking about this actually, and about how a lot of people are like suspended waiting to find their spot in the manufactured system and the synthesized system. And like, that's their purpose, that's the value. Like once I find that spot, once I find that job that's gonna give me that 6-figure salary, then I'm complete.
Yeah.
There's waiting for that when that 6-figure salary is in crypto, it's in stock markets, and those aren't real resource systems, they're symbolic resource systems. And so these skills, right? If somebody's like, wow, I'm really good at like meeting deliverables, like, sorry, so like everybody has their place. And if it's meeting deliverables, is that an actual skill that you should be leaning into? Or are there skills that you can like suss out that you're actually dependent on? You know what I mean? Like a skill that like, even if it's just like knowing how to like properly take care of a child, like, you know, being able to change a diaper properly, like that's a really good skill, you know what I mean, to have to know about. It seems super simple and super basic, but it's, a lot of people don't know how to do that. A lot of people don't know how to make a meal from scratch. And these things are like, our survival is like contingent on those things, that's dependent on them. And yeah, I feel like, I'm sorry, I couldn't catch your name. Evie? Vivi, sorry. Sorry, I didn't do it. I'm sorry, my bad. My name is Gente Vivi. Nice to meet you. But yeah, what you were saying about you get to feel worthless. Like you get stuck in that idea of that like nothing matters. It's like super nihilistic, super apathetic. And then meanwhile, there's like, oh, George isn't here, but like there's one of the Peace Parks that could use help, you know, could use that skill, and like you're not worthless. And it's a lot of work to bridge those gaps to like get, sorry, I'm gonna go off on a whole thing about self-actualizing and that stuff, but yeah, I think that I'm really hungry, I'm really desperate and like to get there to where we all can see ourselves in the system. Yeah.
Thanks, Anthony. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you for that. Two things actually that made me think, all of your words really. I spend a lot of time, well, I shouldn't say a lot of time necessarily. I enjoy spending time with old Black people because I spent a lot of time with my grandma growing up. And one thing that I've been noticing a lot recently when I am with my uncles and aunts, or when I'm with I was with some older Black farmers a couple of weeks ago. I was with my wife's family in Barbados, and her, uncles and aunts that are getting older. Was so many of them are thinking about like the community that they had when they were younger and how that has shifted. And her uncle in particular, one of her uncles in particular, just retired and had, he's worked like manual labor his whole life, had to retire, but he had a pension. And he was like, the whole time we were there in Barbados, he was like arguing with the pension people because they were like, oh, you can't access your pension because it's like gonna be invested. And he was like, I don't want my pension to be invested. I want my money so I can give my money to my kid and my grandkids. And so I can spend my money on what I want because I worked for 50 years, 60 years. And I don't want my money to go off into a fund to make more money. I want to have it so I can give it to my family, or so if my grandson needs a new shirt for school, I can buy it for him. And it just made me think about like how normalized like that is, not just in the US, but just like everywhere that like, oh, well, like, yeah, you got your pension, you worked for all this time, but these resources that you have, you can't then like feed those back into your community, right? Or the way that we are, in many ways, alienated because of, like, well, I gotta contribute to my 403B or my 401k or my IRA or do whatever. And when it's like, well, I mean, is the financial system gonna crash before I turn 65? Probably, right? So like, what is that building towards, if not to like build up our communities, right? If in that the way that we sort of, these things become normalized and we get away from the actual things that we care about, right? And I think coming back to like talking with like my uncles, like last fall with my uncle, and he was just talking about, really reminiscing about the town that he grew up in, that my mom and my family grew up in, Mississippi, and how it was a community that was, I guess, technically poor and segregated and all these other things. But he was like, yeah, it was like beautiful, and it doesn't really exist anymore, right? Because the only way that people saw to, I guess, have their gifts was to leave, right? Or they were forced to in all these different ways. And the ways that our gifts are like, commodified to the point like we have all these gifts, especially, just speaking for myself as like Black folks, obviously like Black culture is like is recognized in all these various different ways, but in all these ways that are commodified. And so it's not about, oh, can I sing in the Church of the Revolution service or can I cook for my family? I mean, it is that, but the way that it's talked about in culture is what it is worth to the people who have money to purchase the opportunity to access your gifts, basically, right? And how much work it takes to like opt out of that. And so that's something that I just like been thinking about a lot recently is like how to make it easier for people to opt out of the sort of like cycle of commodification, financialization, and say like, yeah, like these things are easy to do because our whole system has been set up to allow you to do them, right? To allow you to make your money, put it into, you know, a mutual fund, and then forget about it and let it go to all these other things, as opposed to like what it could be doing to resource our ecosystem, right? Or the gifts that you have that you're using for your job or that you're using for, you know, this kind of like commodity system that could be going into a different ecosystem. But if we can't see that ecosystem and make it real, it is very hard for people to like feel trusting to put their gifts into something. So yeah, just I think maybe I don't know where I ended up, but that was just some things I've been swirling around based on what folks have said to me.
I wanted to build on a few things you said that I thought were really genius. The idea of like the commodification of culture, I think what we see right after that is just like natural resources, the extraction and exploitation, right? And so whether culture is extracted through appropriation and other people like trying to inhabit it, or the cultural producers are extracted from their community through celebrity and then convinced to abandon their class solidarity, their community solidarity. And so like we see that same process of extraction and exploitation. I also appreciate how you highlighted like with the investment example, how part of the violence of capitalism is this idea that we have to constantly be chasing growth. And that there's never an end point. You were also speaking about that, where like there's always something that we're chasing next. There has to be constant growth. And what I love about the reframe from economy to ecosystem is an ecosystem isn't about growth, it's about balance. And sometimes that requires growth, and sometimes that balance requires destruction and death of certain things, whether it's like one animal eating another to live, or like there are indigenous traditions where there would be things like controlled burns to make sure that no one species became too invasive or dominant. And this is part of why I think we cannot be afraid of resistance, because sometimes there has to be destruction. There has to be like to restore a balance. We need to engage with that with wisdom. But to perpetuate abundance for all beings, we can't be afraid of the role that destruction, sometimes death, certainly like acknowledging our grief and letting that be fuel, all of that is part of creating the balance. And so I think we have to challenge ourselves in our movement building to not always just be thinking about the next thing or growth, but also what sometimes needs to be removed in order to restore a balance.
Thanks. So it's one of the things, somebody said something, I don't remember who it was now, but it made me think about, I think it might be you, Dinta. It made me think about this video I saw about women in Uganda and children in Uganda. So they were saying that there were these Europeans that were going in, like, you know, they different, you know, they like to go in different places and study folks and, you know, take down workers. And they were noticing that all these babies in Uganda were like all super ahead of the line where compared to other people where they were connecting with people and stuff. And one of the things that they talked about is like how they would see how like this woman would be standing with her child, like waiting for some service, or whatever, and at some point in time would go take the baby to the bush and like go to the bathroom and come back. The baby didn't have any pamper or anything, and the baby never, like, you know, it's a baby, you know, so you know, babies, they're not like talking to you like whatever, but this baby wasn't going on the mom's clothes weren't getting upset. And they're like, how do you know when she has to go to the bathroom? They're like, why does everybody know? Like, doesn't everybody know? They're so connected, right? That, you know, the baby's body spoke to her body. And so she was able to, she never needed so they thinking about like diapers, thinking about like a lot of times, like there's cloth diapers now, but then they start moving into these things that are toxic, right? That we're putting on baby skin and babies, you know, booties in order to make sure they don't mess on us instead of just connecting, instead of just really getting connected. That's one of the things that I thought about. And then I also thought about my mom's constantly worrying about me, like for years, like decades, it's been like, well, yeah, I know, because I don't, you know, I don't know, y'all may or may not know, I don't really be working jobs. And so, you know, there's things that work well with that, and there's things that are a struggle with that, right? But I've just kind of learned to live life with the struggles that come with not really working jobs. And I have not worked jobs in a really long time. And so one of the things that means is that I don't have a retirement account. I'm not like building up a pension. So that's something that worries my mom, but I am building up a pension and retirement account through this. Right, because I want a world where my eldership is cared for by the community that I care for. And that there's the ability for that to happen. And that's what my retirement plan is, which I feel like is more aligned. You know, the natural ecosystems and how things always were before this weird shit that got created, you know, happened. So yeah, those are just some thoughts that I had in relation to what y'all were saying. But I wanted to bring up this worksheet. So the idea with this worksheet is for us to think about what gifts we have. And I'm just gonna picture it for a second, okay? So what are gifts that we have, and what do they help us to identify as it relates to our purpose? So, you know, like for instance, Alea's gift of song has a clear purpose of elevation, inspiration. It like brings joy. You know, it brings release. Like, you know, I've watched people cry listening to Alea sing, you know, so, you know, that's, you know, there's purpose, there's healing purpose, there's elevation purpose, right? And then, what it gives to life, like what it shares to the community, and what the community, what life feeds to it. So, you know, your ability, like if there's a person who's really good with, you know, the natural body and helping make sure that people are in good health, the community might make sure that they don't have to worry about, you know, like certain other things, like their food sources. You know, somebody else who's a gardener, like feeds the person who heals the people. So like, what is it, like, what are the things that feed your gift, and what are the things that your gift feeds in the community? So just some ways to think about, because ultimately our gifts, when we're working these jobs that we're forced to work, our gifts are being taken away from our community, right? They're being extracted from our community. And instead, that gift or some other aspect of ourselves is being funneled into a system that is disconnected from our community. So just thinking about how we can, just like what it looks like, this is an invitation to think about like what it looks like if we are actually tapping into our gifts, connecting to our purpose, and feeding and being fed by the actual community that we're connected to and part of. So that's what this workshop is, you know, inviting you all to think about this worksheet. Is that clear to y'all? All right, is there anybody who needs a pen? I have an extra pen. I thought this was a pen, but it's a holder. All right, so, can we put on a little music while we fill out the sheet? Awesome, thanks. So we're gonna just spend a few minutes filling out the sheets and thinking about it, and then, you'll be invited, if you wanna share the sheet or anything that the thought that looking at and thinking about the sheet makes you think about, there'll be an invitation for that. You know, after maybe about like, how much time we need? 5 to 10 minutes? All right, 10 minutes.
Do you want us to fill all of it?
It's just whatever is for you, so. It's enough space for what your thoughts are.
Break down the bridge.
Okay, yeah. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, it is.
few more minutes. I thought I might share with one of mine, just to let y'all kind of, I noticed a pattern of mine, I wonder if this shows up for anyone else. I've noticed that the how life feeds it, it for me, for all of the things that I've listed as my gifts, is people enjoying it. Like everything that I put here at the end is like people engaging it, people, so I like to have systems development is one of my gifts. You know, so like the purpose is building freedom. And what it gives to life is helping organization, freedom builders, helping folks build freedom. And then how life feeds it is by coming and being a part of and enjoying the project. Whether it's like you put innovation, creativity, creating music, literature, people enjoying it. People like loving the music and enjoying music. Cooking, decorating, people enjoying it, everything. So I don't know if that's held up for anyone else, but everything for me, the affirmation is that, you know, is the pleasure that the others, which kind of just goes what we were talking about, right? Like, you know, that when our gifts are being activated purposefully, that it feeds everyone else, and that's what feeds us too. You know, that's what I'm getting from saying. So, anybody have anything they want to share? Thinking through your gifts. Few people got lots written on their papers. People got like, yes, that's awesome. Like, you know, sometimes people they like, I don't know, I can't do anything. You know, we got people who know their gifts. That's awesome. Anybody want to share one?
I was thinking, because whenever I walked in, I heard, I think Rachel talking about, clothing and, waste production from clothing. And one of my gifts is I know how to sew. And, I do a decent amount of repurposing and experimenting with, things that I find. And, I see it as a way of bringing new life to things and honoring what's already been made, knowing that there is often a lot of labor and exploitation that goes into the things that I'm able to use. And also I was thinking about how life feeds it and thinking about how people's bodies are changing and their lifestyles are changing, and maybe they're changing how they want to express themselves, and then how all of that kind of becomes part of the ecosystem that now I'm changing how I'm gonna wear this piece of clothing, so then I can repurpose it in this way or make a bag out of it.
Awesome. You know, it's funny because some of y'all know Carolyn mostly comes to the strategy table meetings, but she had a bag one yesterday that she made. And so we were talking about like maybe we could have like a sewing workshop, you know, here, and you know, so this is just connected. You know about this? Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Hey everyone, my name's Sierra. I'm with Woman That's Working Collective. I broke my categories into 3 different categories, spiritual / ancestral, metaphysical, and practical. I will share one from, I'll share the spiritual ancestral one. I did into root work. So, different herb blends, whether the herb blends, pair with candle workings or the herb blends, pair for healing. I have practice there. I can learn that back. And it supports having, you know, better circumstances for what people may be looking to correct, or just like a better life, better existence. Yeah, for my middle column, for the third column. What it gives to life, I kind of understood that to be how people benefit from it. And I wrote everything down that column for everything that I wrote, but, how life feeds it or how people feed it is how I interpreted it. Just by being in right relationship with the earth. So to your point and what you were talking about, knowing about the crops and how they interact with each other, the abundance of crops and natural materials that, the earth has. Anybody else want to share?
I, not necessarily a specific gift, but I noticed a pattern that like thinking about what, my gift gives to life. And then what life gives to it, it's like very cyclical, like, I guess I'll give an example to make it make sense, like. Working with children is one of my passions and gifts, and it comes out in. Seeing them and valuing them and helping them see their own value and the validity of who they are. And then they can become people who do that for other people. And so it is like an ecosystem that gives and feeds and gives and feeds. It's beautiful. In many ways, I didn't mean me doing that is beautiful, but like the whole.
Both are true. Anybody else have something they wanted to share?
It's pretty obvious sometimes, yes. But I really put in like being in this field and like experiencing exploitation in many ways. Actually, recently, one of my oldest friends just like blocked me from not wanting to pay me for my services. So I get it all in the DJ world. So, but also what I learned is like I find out how like these companies be kind of like the break how ripping y'all off by y'all like ignorance of like not knowing how to work audio that others, and I really feel bad. I feel awful about that because it's like, damn, you let these DJs like fleece you for like hundreds and hundreds of dollars with like fleecing you for $1,000 job when it's like a $300 job. I see. So
Well. Actually, kind of will folks down, like, yeah, we of course keep this up. Idea like we had like maybe had like some where like champagne, I mean, purchased the ingredients and then it made very deal. And now something, you know, we talk about that, talk about like restaurants. They feel like you're eating once or twice a year. We get them, it's like. Yeah, sorry. Twice a week, or twice a week. In construct, depending on when you get it. That vision.
So they're talking about this part. And art has, like places where like. For sure, I'm much, I mean, these things, I mean, Portland's summer because that's why I heard the. Building, in Kensington, that one for me, so. Like, I can't speak to like specific, but like, it's a very large, like, it was a church building. Like, we just acquired it like a month ago, there's like a church community that, you know, to Bob is one of the use anymore, so they kind of took it out. So like, we're gonna like, usually, and like, organizing and making it like. A space, but like, I feel like once it's kind of like. Formed and once they're kind of like. You know,
Y'all wanted all that.
Yeah.
This is the chairs.
Everybody always talk about. Yeah. No, people act like everything, everybody's not. No, I know, everybody's not. No, you act like it's all the organizers, we act like everybody's in West Philly. Like, I'm like, you gotta serve, basically everywhere, we gotta, like, you know how many black people in Germantown? How many black people in Icetown? How many people in West Oak Lane?
Very black people.
You know, South Philly, but, you know, I mean, I don't like South Philly, but it's organized. Yeah. There's the South Philly people in here, but I still like, you know, I don't like going out there. It's just so far. It's so far from me. I'm at West Oak Lane. Yeah, I got one in. To go to South Philly is like, but, you know, we gotta go everywhere. You know, if all the organizers are in West Philly, then that's the last place that we should be. That's what I would say. That's a really way to think of it.
Yep.
Yeah, but I've been having this argument for some years now. During like Black Philly Radical Collective time, every time you're doing actions, all the actions coming in our west, I'm like, we got to go to Germantown. Yes. Thank you.
Yeah.
No, I do.
Yeah, if there are more.
So I have. My. I have my stuff. You got that.
Wow. Yeah, they're very, very special.
I need the joke now. I love it.
You know, I'm just like, when you find out who made this word, I'm from. Oh, okay, like, we're just.
I felt this live or not.
Yeah.
Not really. I know they got something about someone. What is it? It's something nine. No, it's not. No, it's not that, yeah. I don't know, that was the beat, but. Yeah, the man is good though, man. Yeah, right, man. For public, this day.
Okay, how long, I can't even say how long I know her, but what I can tell you is that her family, both her kids, right, they're doing, we're at my daughter's first birthday. Wow. Like, yeah.
My health insurance info is really good. It's started. We're gonna go to, Tanzania, right now, where they got a situation like that. So they're there, we're gonna be there with the young man. Yeah. Thank you.
That's also.
Bunch of people, so everyone, yeah.
That's our parents. And the story.
Now, cafe. Yes. And like, our in my neighborhood, so I go right there. I go to Germantown, I don't know anything about it, one block away, I got you. You know where the Mexican street from? Lavish. Lavish, where's that? Close to here. But they, the place is, yeah, everybody, I was like, I gotta have a folder. I was like, oh no, I'm gonna be going to the wrong today.
I go to the East Coast.
Oh, okay.
And then.
Okay.
Bob, room in after March. So it's gonna come.
It's not bad. I'll be able
It's hard. She's down in Atlanta, she goes to get Atlanta. But she was out back. We had, a name like. And, you know, she didn't sleep all night. They got home. Like, I'm gonna sleep. But it's, yeah, I don't know, it's like delicate place where. You gotta have like protectors around her. Yeah, just something like remind her to say no, just like, gyms and go with each other, You'll be days where both sides, like, around. Great.
Yeah, I was,
Just. No, six. That's a lot. In spaces. Which is good. I really support. So, yeah, I think it should be.
Yeah, oh, that kind of stuff, yeah.
That's like me.
My last year back in Florida, job.
Yeah.
I'm really edges that I want to know them to call them well. And I think that's. The first thing he said, he said, yeah, let's do that. And I want to know was the first organizing. Yes,
Can I sit right here?
It's so sad. It's sad that you have something.
I mean, here, but some people get told there, you know. We wait for with speed, you know. Yeah, that's why you probably do.
I mean, I wouldn't even care, but yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah. I agree.
He's like,
You know, I had a day.
Bringing folks,
No,
mostly like.
they gonna let me get me. What's your life? I'm giving this up. No. Yeah, I basically like,
You know, how you can do arguments.
I'm like, well, that's, so it's like,
That was before.
but I was not.
Something was in the beginning.
On Saturdays. It's hard. It's hard to get me out there and like. And Oh,
That's so many good.
Yeah. I know that I don't know how you would say Well, when they start working,
I love it.
I feel like. I have spread my it's all different. Like it's like you ever like bread all over there. I can work on that. I just know when I'm at but I think it's there was already moments for it. There's a lot of movements.
Yeah, that got
And I know some of that is like, yeah, you see. And if they can, I'm like, let me kind of, Right. That's the thing about it. We're gonna live in the class. They're like, we're not starting from zero. Like, like, I gotta, wanna know during the weekend. I've seen, I've seen some, what I'm saying, stuff. Very involved.
I love it.
Yeah. Like you actually notes. Thing like makes sense. Like you're not like, you know, like I'm like, wow. I'm you're better with it, you know? See that?
Yeah.
You're supposed to like recent, like.
I feel like you can speak with each, you know,
Those are the ones that I'm hurt by. That's not the other thing. And then
What the ones I went afraid to keep going forward, I'm saying? Oh. Oh.
Are you watching? So, so we started here. Yeah.
I got that, I guess, I did it first time, you know? And again, you have the connection, right? I mean, you've been in the soil. Wow. Go keep on going, you know? What y'all do?
Oh, yeah. But.
Your vehicle. I'm not sure we all even can you. Like friends that landed, go like everybody. What? You go to host committee? Do you have? Yeah. Just be there. You ain't got a problem with you, they come there, you go. Thanks for coming. Thanks for emceeing. Yeah. We always find each other. One way or another, one way or another. Sarah's gonna be in the family, I'm like, hey. I'll send a look. In the best way, I mean, you know, in that way.
With the people that's flowing forward right here.
Oh, wow.
One of my.
That's really for the.
They were branded by.
Thank you so much.
Somebody decided to wait that.
Sure.
Oh, yeah.
You understand which one's like yours?
And so, I mean,
All right.
Yes, all around the world. Yes.
Yeah. I used to.
So like, other than that.
The rationale, I think it's like, other part of it, then this thing out there. Because so much of the population speaks French, right? You know, which we kind of.
Like one week where it's like, yeah, I should play.
Broken.
It's just like, oh.
Then let's get you involved, Lieutenant. Here, there, I'm being like, BB.
I actually.
Yeah.
Was I and that's how.
Really excited to check out.
It's like, it's just like,
Everybody's becoming excited, but then I'm like, yeah, this is a lot, like.
and it's like, you know, it's like, folks figure out a way, you know?
Strawberry Mansion. but
Yeah, it's
the
one of,
place-
it's one of my.
Big bugs and crossroads.
Smith, we still have barbecue chicken, greens, and mac and cheese. Please come take it to go.
Okay.
And start cleaning up. Thank you.
You know what, like, American high school, yeah. Right behind it, right, that's right. But, it's not environmental high school. It's, yeah, there's like saw, if you're going up Henry Avenue, there's the BB saw, Hancock Cops, Weaver's Way, you keep that going, you're gonna pass pretty much like the legal center for environmental education.
But it's like,
Around like, and then Manhattan.
We're not just, we'll definitely.
Is right next there.
Traveling.
Traveling for work this week, but
There, no,
after that, I'll be.
our journey, our meal with, people gone, you know them, we have that. But they have grass there as well.
Good.
They have like a different going on, they're like working with like a crop share. We're more of
Happy
a.
New Year's.
2 years, it's 3 years.
Research technology, right? Well, everyone doesn't work in it, but anyway. Moving away. Kind of reducing. Somebody. It's been really hard. Out there. Right?
If I'm looking at you out of my youth.
5 acres, put it in, and I think for a while, we were like, well, maybe in a kid coming on profit, he walks the RSD. Brilliant. Yeah. And like, you know, we're trying to think like.
Work something you've done a long time.
So, you know, it's about that. No, the people are, like, one of the, like, oh man, you're like, don't refer to her. And then, that's so. Yeah. For those times, not very long time. I make like oppressive tactics. So that's where, Yeah.
Are there other practical strategy
One thing is like, it's not.
Should I go? Like, show fear?
Yeah.
Because I am, I want to be your. And I can get. Everybody wants to be, you know what I mean? It's like a natural thing that I can't even turn off. But it's, thank you for not interested. So I can look at somebody else. I might know what you're doing tomorrow. I may know your like the way I would have started. Because there was effort like one character. I knew that she spent time down south. I don't know how anyway. I just we were just talking, you know. But she told me that she went to school down south for a while. I knew it. Like I picked up on that. So it's just it's stuff like that. But trying to learn more. It's been my, you know, my practice is like that They were at Barbados.
Which is good, because she just like, I had been for the first time 4 years ago. With her, and we were there. Well, she was actually there for 2 weeks. And while she was there, her mom, brother passed away. She had been sick for a while, so like, expected in the past. But like, my mom's brother passed away, and like in the same in Barbados, and it was like a very busy trip, and so before I told you, like spending time with the family and stuff together. It was good, so it was like, okay, actually, it's like, we'll be here. And it was good in a lot of ways too, because it felt like a lot of things were like, she's good with the program, and she's doing like a Bible word, and a lot of, she's like, so there was a lot of stuff that just was like coming up, or like talking about that was like very, not just her, that was a very related like her family, the story, or like the story of Thailand, and all these things as well, so that was, it was a good trip. Yeah. Literally like
that's something I.
one week after had like a really scare, like he's okay now, but it was like good, like okay, it was like we were thinking about going towards the end of the summer, and then it was like actually like sooner, and I was glad we did. It was hot. It was hot. Yeah. Got to the beach a few times. Yeah, it's funny. We just went
Like the university executives, sunset.
It seemed like almost like
it just sat.
it's like close
area.
over the last like month.
And so people were like,
They're all in.
But NPCSC, along with Credit Control and the Land Health Institute, are and EPA are collaborating.
Oh no.
Imagine. Right now, it's still under a warmer green screen. They haven't come up with any, but they're opening it back up, and they're planning on putting like.
There's a lot happening.
They have a lot of big ideas with the EPA. They're investing like $300,000 doing all this development and stuff, but, and he's, I don't know how to help them. They got out their hands on a lot of things going on, including a lot of community gardens, so like the Hilton Garden. Part dating. Like simple way, so a lot of these, garden are all part of the NPCC garden network. Like with that on there. Jeremy Chen, he's gonna be first, I think it is in the update, so I'm like, go into it, not vacant lots, not making vacant lots. So, I mean, these are people I'd be happy to pick up long term like.
I feel like it's a lot of over the last couple of years in particular, like seeing a lot of these things like the psycho Marxism, like any like the Africanism and other ways that kind of like political understanding way of seeing the world and what's going on, and also then like on the other side, not even on those side, things that like the like both like spirituality and like ancestral like knowledge and seeing, and that like these things aren't like really different, right? They're just, you know, different lenses, and maybe one lens lends itself more to certain areas and another one lends itself to others. But even like, you know, I don't know if you were here when I was like thinking about this. I was talking to my uncle about some stuff early during the last year, and he was kind of like, oh, like we were like talking just like a, you know, catching him up on like stuff that I'm doing. He's like, oh, like you're like, you know, I know you're on that like, like actively, it's like blah 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 blah. And then I'm like, you know, okay, well, like, you know, what do you feel like, you know, your scenes? And he was like, you know, I just like we need to come together and like build our own thing and like build ourselves community up and build ourselves like collectively. And I'm like, okay, like, you know, we're more, you know, 90% of the stuff we're talking about is the same thing, right? It's just, you know, we have maybe different words, and I'm saying like things in a specific way, or I feel like, you know, we can't do things in a certain way because it always repeats. So, but it was interesting it's been interesting to like engage with that, and like even I was in Cuba. But it's also like in 2024, and I was doing like academic work and like organizing work as well. But then I with some of the folks who I was doing the work with, a lot of them are like something practitioners, and exactly, and I did like a introductory like mass with them. So like going through that, it was like I like did it, and I literally like stayed in the room I was staying in the rest of it because I was like, it fucked me up, man. Because they really like conspiracy. Yeah.
Like I appreciate the
No, when they really like cut it, I was like doing the stuff, and I was like, man, like, and then I was like, but it's not wrong, right? So it's sort of like you can, you know, but it is like that type of thing of like being undone a little bit and having to like come together. So I think it's been my goodness. It was like very enlightening to me as well, because a lot of work that I was doing around like economic, like undoing like understanding of economic development, and then like how is it going to put back to people? And so going through that, in the middle of that, I was like, oh, geez, like there's a lot more here, right? Beyond like the academic or the kind of political stuff. No.
I'm not joking.
Yeah, we haven't done it.
Develop.
Have ownership of all their.
Yes. That's the biggest question I had. You watch this documentary called Planned Defeat or Civilization. And basically it's talking about, I can't remember the term now, but it's like what is it called? Different civilization. I don't know, I think the film society was doing a screening of the screening of it. I don't think it happened.
But Austin, I definitely want to.
But you remember the zoning chairman, it's about this science fair. Comparing us to them, here to synthesize.
You can understand stuff.
The planet.
Understand
As a response.
your
to
own
climate change.
history well and practices in a different way too. So it's been very enlightening.
Just started to read about things. Like the science is going, how the way the years, like the development, how the money's like, what, like, the conversation we're having. My trip was there was like how they're really on that change. And that, and there is like the July 22nd. And that they're all right, you have basically like might not know. And like also very there's world. Like, and so. And a lot of I would say work out there.
No, I think it's.
Yeah.
That's a pretty cool word. Man, this is something, you know, that stuff. Where?
I get a little bit of.
You know. Holding it down.
Yeah, that's the stuff that's right now, the stuff.
Like those that are there were, you know. Those chairs are fine.
Anyway. You really, you need to see how you even treat him, how you just like that, his way of expressing. Very, that's great.
I will probably have. This slide.
They get the strategy table. Yeah, it's gonna be at 30 instead of at 7. Okay. Because they close at 8. No.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, I wonder, I guess so.
I was like, it seems like it's good enough. I mean.
Like you heard about the spicy foods and ramen all, but. Like that.
Good night.
That's how I feel. Thank you. It's a very good thing, and I'm like, that's, I have heard that's a good one, so that one. The eagle, if I did say that, I would go to like. That's all. Yeah, but no, I think. That's exactly what I was going to. Yeah. There's the one thing I'm doing on purpose. And for, that's the reason, even though it's justified, you know what I mean, but at the same time, I'm like, okay, well, if I don't care about somebody else, care about that.
Right. I mean, I got deal with that like the trip, like some people just feel like people just don't work in my clothes. Like off the rip, I'm already like, I got a battle. I had to win people into like stereotypes. I had to like. I'm not gonna. I'm trying to know that face and whatever shit like. Yeah. I was just. And I'm. But it's like when I go to college, like.
I'm gonna be fine. We couldn't have face for us,
Like,
and
and really anything.
a lot of time.
And I
No, like.
and like, wow.
I'm good at well, so I just, you know.
They were pretty great. And they were.
Yeah.
I
Well, they have this year, not saying
something sad, that's what you had.
I mean.
Yeah.
I'll be real with you.
Yeah.
Yes, I'll see you.
That's
Stay
that's.
hydrated, y'all. Stay hydrated, stay safe. Okay, friends. You know what?
I did.
Oh. Okay.
Hold on.
Oh, okay. He said he wanted to walk out.
So that's when you.
That's kind of getting from the. Yeah. Oh, nice.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Thank you.
Is anyone missing their gifts worksheet?
Thanks, John.
Thank you. Was nice to meet you, Rip.
All right, Sammy.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
Yeah, the whole.
Yeah, I'm gonna be talking soon about education and
No, I'm not, I'm nothing. I'll be here when I'm needed, but not rushing for it.
All right, yeah.
Did we do?
I think it's 12. Yeah, Tuesday the 12th. Next Tuesday, not this Tuesday.
14th.
Oh, it's the 14th?
Yeah.
Okay,
Because today's the